I can't tell you.
Hello, Dino.
He's a tech-savvy guy, gonna show you the way. You better load your bags, cause crypto's here to stay. Listen up, gonna teach you about this and that. But he's just a goofy guy in a straw hat. So join in and have a laugh. It's gonna be a good time, that's a fact. Information and crypto parodies. Sit back and enjoy the show. You just never know which way you'll go. So get ready for Digitspin crypto.
Okay, so I have with me Chris Harrison, the man, the actual man who works the blockchain. This is the guy that does all the magic on the background, on the blockchain.
Very nice to meet you.
It's great
Thanks
to meet
for being here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We appreciate all the content you put out and what you add to the project. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I tried to educate people and explain the technical parts of it, which a lot of folks leave out and or don't understand or can't share with the community.
Okay.
And when you did the proof of responsibility, I tried to give some history and explain what's going on. And
I mean, it can all get very arcane, can't it? I think that's it's an endemic problem within blockchain as an industry, that there is a lack of effective communication about some of the cutting edge stuff, and a lot of the detail gets lost, and people get confused. So people like you understand what you're talking about and really passionate and stay close to a small number of projects. I think you do a great service for the industry in general. Yeah.
Oh, appreciate that.
No worries. Yeah.
As you know, I focus
true,
on Electroneum, so that works out. Every once in a while, I'll see Andre out there, and you guys will tell us what's going on as far as what's been released and all that. How did you guys come up with this proof of responsibility? Because when you guys were going to do an upgrade, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, what could they be adding the last time? And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe they're doing an instant payment to the exchanges. And then I was like, well, they're not giving the software to the exchanges. Something big is going to happen and change. And you ended up coming up with a proof of responsibility environment where you have controlled nodes, basically permissioned nodes for the NGOs to run. Where did you come up with this idea? Because I haven't seen anything like it anywhere else.
So the 51% attack threat was prevalent throughout the early days of Electroneum. And we were keenly aware that at any time, if somebody came along with enough hash rate, that they could disrupt the network. So it was a big threat, an existential one even, and we decided to just take things into our own hands and regain control of the blockchain. And the way to do that was to change it from a fully decentralized system to a permissioned blockchain. But really our intentions were twofold when it came to the permission system. We also wanted to redirect the block rewards to entities, i.e. the NGOs, that had our best interests at heart, rather than these block rewards going to faceless miners that we didn't know nor trust. We'd like that money to go to our trusted partners who were going to work hard to further our ambitions on the ground in our target countries, such as South Africa and Cambodia, and start stimulating Electroneum economies in those countries in preparation for any tasks, which I'm sure Richard has been chatting to you about today.
Absolutely.
So just a more secure network. And not only that, it gave us more freedom when it came to development. So we've not spoke about this much so far, but we're going to be building out a Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus over end of Q1 through perhaps Q3, Q4. And some of the features within that we wouldn't have been able to do if we hadn't have migrated to a permissioned a blockchain. So it's really gave us a lot of flexibility and room for creativity in our dev work. So,
Very nice. And have you found that this has given Electroneum some scaling so that the transactions can perform faster since it's a controlled environment? You have lesser nodes.
Yeah, sure. So you know, your viewers probably know what orphan blocks are. You know, so if someone was to get enough hash rate and disconnect themselves from the network, because they end up creating an orphan chain that was you know, significantly long and could end up reversing transactions, all the rest of it. But because we have tabs on what each of our miners are doing, you know, we control the hash rate and so on, we could bring that confirmation time down from 10 blocks to 5. But with the this new consensus model I'm talking about that we're going to be working on for the rest of the year, we should be bringing that down to 1 block. And you know, 1 block should take significantly less time. You know, we're aiming for something similar to what Ripple have with their, say, 20-second confirmation time for a transaction.
That's
you know?
pretty spectacular.
So move away from sort of probabilistic finality and move towards a deterministic finality. You know, with 1 block confirmations. Yeah.
That's spectacular. Is there this upgrade that's going on, or that's going to be happening shortly, or has happened?
Sure.
I would imagine you're kind of preloading or getting stuff in the.
Sure,
things
absolutely,
needed.
yeah. I mean, we just put out a release yesterday. It was just a revamp of the blockchain in which, you know, we patched over a few nagging small bugs that were causing some of our exchanges to have minor issues. We merged in the base code for the ledger. You know, Monero, C/M, the guy's name is. He wrote an amazing app for Monero's ledger, and you know, we merged in the base code and some of the code we've wrote on top. And you know, alongside that, there are a few other things such as multi-signing of messages, transactions, and yeah, improved synchronization time. So I think Andre I should give him a shout out. My colleague Andre does amazing work. It's usually just me and him working on the blockchain, but he synchronized the blockchain yesterday. It took him about 3 hours, whereas before it was taking people maybe a day or upwards of a day. So you know, that's a big increase, and we're pretty chuffed with that. So
That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And speaking of this ledger now, the Monero version, correct me if I'm not right, the Monero version you install from the Ledger Live, you can install it, but it does not give you an account on the Ledger Live. You have to use it only with external software to interact with. Is the Electroneum version going to have a full integration into Ledger Live?
yes, that is the plan. Yeah.
So you'll be able to go to Ledger Live, install the Electroneum,
Sure.
and then add an account of Electroneum. It'll show up with your Bitcoin and everything else on Ledger Live.
Yeah, but that is the plan.
That's the plan.
I mean, it's not 100% confirmed yet, but that's
Right.
definitely the plan. That's what we're going for. But for people because some people are fearful of Ledger's apps. I know they've been in the game a while. You know, most people trust them, but some people still want to compile the program from source. So the GitHub code is going to be put out as well for people who want to build it from scratch and transact that way as well. To be a bit more, you know, have a bit more peace of mind.
All right, that's good. I know because the process to get it approved through Ledger and for them to distribute it is going to take some time to.
Yeah.
So after you write the code, you got to then go through their approval
Sure,
process.
yeah, the testing phase, and then you know we've got to because there's many people in the queue at the moment for approval of their Ledger app. So you know we're going to have to get in line. There's going to be no backdoor envelope to get us to the front of the queue. Ledger are not like that. They're very fair in how they proceed with the validations, very orderly. So. It might be a while, but they're pretty speedy, pretty good at what they do. So, you know, we should be hoping to see it, sometime just after Q1 this year. That's the goal. But
Are we going to integrate the Ledger into any of the Electroneum website or the apps too, where you can sign directly from, or is it going to be just for cold storage using the Ledger Live system?
Well, I mean, some of those ideas sound great. I mean, they've not been discussed yet.
Okay. So step one, step two.
Potentially, we will see. We'll see how things go. I have to consult the CTO Barry as well. I don't get to decide some things like that.
Sure, that makes sense. And obviously, it would be great just to be able to have and to see your storage, on your Ledger Live and being able to have your keys and having it offsetted.
Sure.
So that would be a big thing. I would imagine, obviously, when they're setting it up with their accounts and everything, they've got to run some kind of a node there to be able to keep track of all of the accounts on the blockchain itself.
Well, here's the thing. So, if they wish, they can connect to a remote node. Of course, you've got to trust that node. You've got to know that they're not going to do anything funny with what you send over, or get in the way of you sending your transactions. But users have the option of using a remote node to relay their transactions, and of course, their wallet will be stored on their own host computer, and they will still sign it themselves on their own host computer. But if they want to get around storing that big blockchain on their computer, they can do that through the remote node.
Through the remote node, which is transparent to the user when they're using the Ledger Live. Mm-hmm. Have you used the Ledger Live?
Yeah. I've played around with the Monero app, before, and a couple of others, Bitcoin. I didn't mean Monero. I meant Bitcoin.
The Bitcoin one, yeah. So you bring that up, and then obviously you tell it, hey, I want to install that into your once it's installed, you can then add an account. And they would tend to think that the Ledger folks are running nodes and verifying so that they can you can send the money through the Ledger system. You don't have to run a wallet or your own. So you're saying that you think it'll work with the a CLI wallet installation?
Sure. I mean, that's priority number one. The community's been asking about this for a long time, so we really want to deliver it. That's kind of an extension of the MVP, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're absolutely going to look at making that work as well. But first of all, we want our CLI users to be able to use the Ledger.
Okay, so the primary focus is the Ledger Live system. If you have that working, you really don't need it to connect to a CLI wallet or anything.
Sure. But some people get a bit funny with that kind of thing, and I think there's extra work on Ledger's part for that to be done. So we're thinking best thing to do is to just get it out as soon as possible so people can actually use it, and then soon after do the Ledger Live side of things. Yeah.
So the first one will be with the basic wallet, the CLI wallet.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it'll integrate with the CLI wallet, and then while it's going through the approval process at some point throughout the year, we'll get it for Ledger Live. That'll be I think the big win. Not everybody wants to play with the CLI or has the temperament for it.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's what our whole project is about, right? Bringing crypto to the masses, and if integrating with a Ledger Live is going to help that happen, then that's something we want to do. So yeah,
fantastic. Now, we're going back to the blockchain and the network itself. It used to be fun because I would mine on the blockchain, and obviously you had an issue there because you had all these ASICs, and there was 60-70% of them were in China.
Sure, yeah.
And nobody was going to make any more of them because there was no coins to run them on except Electroneum. And,
sure. So we had a giant hash rate, like 6 gigahash on Kryptonite V7.
Exactly, and so there's only so many people that had these machines, and you weren't going to be able to change the ratios because no new machines are going to be added. So, obviously going to the proof of responsibility it solves a lot of that. And have you had any attacks, or has the system put a halt on anything? Has it worked?
No.
And you have any results saying that it's worked? An example of something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had great feedback from our users and also the NGOs that run the nodes. It's worked pretty flawlessly since we started, actually.
So very little problems then?
No, very little. I mean, we run a moderated layer on top of the blockchain and the mining, the set of miners. And we monitor whether blocks are being signed on a regular basis by every miner that's in there, and also whether there's any suspicious behaviour going on, mining too quickly, or attempts to put things on the blockchain that shouldn't be there and that kind of thing. And apart from a miner going down once in a blue moon for miscellaneous reasons, it's been pretty smooth. So
nobody's tried to pull a fast one yet.
No, I mean, because because each of the mine has their own special key to sign the blocks.
Sure.
Nobody can, like it's cryptographically secure. So.
I was just curious if somebody has
tried.
Hey, take care. Has tried to connect into the network, or
No.
tried to
I
do
mean,
anything?
you know, Barry and Adam, infrastructure guys, they're seriously talented people. And I think to get past their defences, you have to be, you know, godlike. So no attacks. I mean, we've seen a couple of dodgy blocks being passed around the network, but of course they've not made it on top of the chain because they're invalid. So
Okay.
yeah, so things have gone.
So everything's
pretty well.
worked as well,
Yeah.
and it's an important part because before you could have an attack, you could have an override, you have all the mining controlled or majority controlled by certain groups.
Sure.
And it would be tough for somebody for a large government or company to be able to put trust into it because it's, as you know,
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
so easy to cause havoc on that chain.
Absolutely. There's a common misconception about hash rate as well. Like a higher hash rate doesn't necessarily mean that you're more secure. It's all about how well distributed the hash rate is. So you're only as secure as your network hash rate is well distributed, right?
Yeah, if you have the highest hash rate with just 2 people or 3 people, 2 of them get together, they got more than enough to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got to have it broken apart.
And a lot of the times, these mining pools are in cahoots with one another, as you just suggested, and people don't always know that. I mean, we've got wind of other coins where a couple of mining pools are indeed working together, and it's
Yeah, I remember you used to see them stitch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're operating a decentralized blockchain that has no kind of key signatures in the blocks, you are operating with a bunch of unknowns, and it can potentially be very dangerous to the project. I'm just glad that we had the foresight to migrate away from that as soon as we possibly could.
Absolutely, I have to tell you, I was sad because I was a miner, and I was like, yeah, I'll get I got each one would earn me 1,000 Electroneum, and I said, oh shucks, they're taking that away. But then after I looked at it, I said, yeah, you know what? As for the security and the safety, and to allow the company to move forward into areas that they could never go
That's
before.
another critical piece of the puzzle as well. I mean, if we were to have remained with a fully decentralized blockchain in which anyone and everyone could mine, we wouldn't have been able to secure the same corporate partnerships that we have.
No.
Plenty of them, we proposed our ideas to them about the proof of responsibility before we did it, and a lot of them were saying, until you have something similar than that, integrated into your system, we can't touch you. I'm sorry. And we get the same message back from world governments. We get the same message back from other potential crypto partners, and also other potential people who want to get involved in the project. They say, I don't want Electroneum if it's part of this decentralized system because I fear for the 51% attack. We saw just recently Bitcoin Gold, 51% attack too, so it can happen to the best of them.
Exactly, and nobody's going to put a large bit of money into an environment that can be manipulated so easily.
Sure.
And
anonymously, yeah.
And anonymously, and you guys solved that, so I was happy for it. Now I have to mine some other coin and convert it to Electroneum, but it's okay. Luckily, I still got something I can mine, and that works out for me just as well.
Thank you.
I'm not going to tell you what coin I'm mining, but it does bring me in 1,200 to 1,400 Electroneum, so that's good with 4 ASICs. So
awesome.
The other 2 I have testing some other coins, but luckily there's still some stuff I can apply them to.
Incredible. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I held off. I was gonna buy some more, and I just got a gut feeling to hold off until you guys announced what you were doing, just in case, and I'm glad I did.
Okay.
So that worked out all right. Now, so we talked about how you came up with it, how it's functioning, and the ledger. Tell me, is there anything else exciting that you guys are looking on adding, in the future, or anything you could share or talk about?
Well, I mean, the main thing is the new consensus, right? It's going to take a long time to complete, but you know, as I said, the main goal of Electroneum is to bring crypto to the masses and just build a highly efficient blockchain that's got high throughput, you know, where people can confirm, well, remittance is, you know, very effective. You know, we can confirm transactions in a real short time period. We're currently sitting at 10 minutes for, you know, confirmation of a 10 blocks, 5 blocks, sorry, confirmation of a transaction. We want to bring that down to 1 block and have the time for each block reduced significantly. We're talking perhaps 20 seconds. Okay. But to say a little bit more about how this consensus works for those who don't understand it, so we have to first examine a known problem in computer science called the Byzantine generals problem. Mm-hmm. So if you guys imagine a city which is surrounded by a bunch of army generals, and these generals have to communicate to one another whether or not to attack the city or retreat from it. Mm-hmm. So essentially you've got a set of actors in a network that must reach consensus on the decision, right? Okay. So you know, the communication between these actors can break down, right? So say one general says to his buddy on the right, you know, we're going to attack tomorrow, says to his guy on the left, we're actually going to retreat tomorrow. Or perhaps, you know, the messenger that delivers the transaction corrupts the message and he changes it because really he'd rather save his own skin. He's going to retreat. And the Byzantine generals problem is all about how much, what is the maximum threshold for fault that you can have within this system for it to still achieve consensus and make forward progress. And you know, in blockchain case, agree on, you know, how to move forward with the blocks, adding blocks to the chain. So yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to implement this kind of system for our network of trusted validators, so they become the generals. And instead of competing with one another, which is like efficient, and you know, there's many other problems that come out of that. Instead, we're going to have them working together on the consensus. So they're going to be, you know, discussing, you know, a proposed transaction set with each other. They're going to be ones that there'll be thresholds. There'll be rounds of consensus in which, you know, they close in on an agreement on the final transaction set, mm-hmm. and then they'll apply it to the head of the ledger. And you know, we just think that that's the best way to go about things moving forward, both in terms of transaction speed, you know, and efficiencies. Other efficiencies.
All right, so you're cutting down the signaling and all the extra little secret handshakes that have to happen,
and also security as well.
And security. You know. So it gets down to the soup and nuts of the transaction, so that they can all perform it quicker.
Sure, yeah, and also for security, you know, mm-hmm. You can still have, say if one of our validators was to go rogue, or multiple validators were to go rogue, the system would still, the consensus would still work, right? Okay. So it builds in an extra level of security at the validator level.
All right, so let me ask you, and let me make sure, when a user is just, you know, sending money from one mobile phone to the other, it's going through the centralized part of the environment. It's sure. A database, and you know, it's just transferring that in, and then keeping that information. This will speed up transactions that are coming from outside, people buying from exchanges or moving large sums from outside the environment into.
Absolutely.
And so that they can also now keep this
sure.
this transaction.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to also obviously increase transactions per second? Or does that make a difference? What are we at, 60 or somewhere in that 30?
Transactions per second at the moment is, you know, is pretty low, if I'm completely honest with you. That's mostly because of how Monero built the blockchain, and how our block size doesn't really scale properly at the moment. That's, you know, we plan to address that with the Byzantine fault tolerant consensus as well. So yeah, you are right on that. we plan to improve. TPS should improve dramatically, yeah.
Right, it'll give the effect of the TPS. You know, being able to have more transactions, to have a more secure.
Yeah, and the other upside of making part of the network, the mobile network, centralized is there's actually less transactions on the blockchain anyway. So the ones that do go on the blockchain will get through much quicker. You know, they'll have.
That's the one thing that I try to explain. You know, some people go, "Oh, I don't want that. It's centralized, or I have to have KYC." And I'm like, "Well, no, actually, you don't. It's a hybrid. You can go to an exchange. You can buy your ETN. You can then send it to your CLI wallet, and you could be outside of the KYC environment.
Yeah. You don't have to join the centralized system if you don't want to. We give people the choice, and we always will give people the choice.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of it. So you have a choice. If you want to take advantage of the instant payment and the AnyTask and all this other stuff, well, you got to come in the ring, and you got to come inside and join the KYC solution. But you know, you could do both. So it's pretty spectacular. Being able to have a centralized and a decentralized way of moving Electroneum around. There's no reason why anybody wouldn't see value in this.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
It's an amazing setup. You guys have done great work. You know, I'm gonna pass to you some more and send you some stuff.
No problem at all.
And I'm thrilled that I finally got a chance to meet you.
No, you too. It's been great. Honestly,
and Andre too. Andre, both of you guys are geniuses.
Don't flatter.
and spectacular
we
things
appreciate
they come
that.
up with. Yeah, it's amazing. How I used to be able to see the network and the speed and things that were going on, and obviously now you really can't. I don't know if you're running a node, you can get your blocks, and you can kind of get some cursory information, but there's no more graphing and charts and things that you can get. How you?
So
you guys have special.
You'd like to see a bit more of that.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate that, and we will look at doing some of that stuff in our spare time as we go through the next.
Even if it's just like a website, the Electroneum stats or something.
Yeah, no, we have discussed this. Yeah, I mean, we have some proprietary stuff in house.
Yeah,
for sure, but it's kind of. It's not as aesthetically appealing as we'd like it to be before we push it to the public. Right. But yeah, that's definitely something we've looked at, and
because there's a statting. It's like a open source statting program. I forget everybody uses, and then it'll show you hash rate and and all this kind of going on.
Sure.
And it should be a relatively easy build. I wish I had the time to set it up myself, but FCAS FCAS, the Fundamental Crypto Asset School people. Mm-hmm. I recently wrote a data parser for them that looks at a lot of the data on the blockchain, feeds it to their database so that they can give us the appropriate FCAS score. Right. So I'm sure that that kind of system that you're looking for, it'd probably be built on top of that. So a lot of it, is already there. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Tidying up a bit.
That would be my one checkbox thing. It'd be nice just to see so we can see. Yeah, look, guys, it's working. Because you get asked, how do we know it's working? What are they doing?
Sure.
They even got a blockchain. How do we know? There's no way to check it, look at it. And I said, well, when you run your CLI wallet, you can hit hash rate and it'll tell you. But it's not a gee whiz graphical thing. And I think that it would be pretty neat to have.
Sure.
And I know you got a lot on your plate, but hopefully you can put that in the suggestion box.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll do our best. Cheers.
I appreciate you taking the time with me. Again, I think you guys are awesome, and thank you very much.
Appreciate you coming. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks for everything you do.
Perfect.
Cheers.
Thank you, my friend.
Bye, guys.
And good night. Captain Kangaroo.